Gang and drug-related violence in Mexico is completely out of control, as you might know. Since 2006, something like 60,000 people have been killed as a result. And, the reasons are many, but one of the big ones is probably the drugs moving from Mexico into the United States and guns moving from the United States into Mexico. While the United States is busy very slowly legalizing marijuana on a state-by-state basis while ignoring all the other drugs and things like assault rifles, Mexico has been struggling to try to fix this problem with, unfortunately, very little success. Things got a little better in 2012, but overall, it's been pretty grim. It's basically a lot like a war. And in fact, between 2006 and 2012, 3,000 police officers and soldiers have been killed in Mexico, which is roughly the number of Allied forces in Afghanistan who were killed between 2001 and 2012. As you can probably guess, this level of violence has a huge negative impact on Mexican life. In many places, people are living in an atmosphere of terror. And in some places, they're completely unable to even access good education. So what do we have when there's a culture of fear and a lack of education? Well, religion and superstition move in and take hold. Which brings me to an article I just read in the New York Daily News that was brought to my attention on Twitter by Dr. Brad McKay. Thank you, Brad. About the Mexican cartels and how priests are fighting back against them, not with guns or social policy changes, but with exorcisms. Yep. Father Ernesto Caro tells the paper how it took him 4 months to supposedly exorcise the demons out of a particularly nasty murderer for the Los Zetas gang. This guy claims that he would butcher people while they were still alive. And at the time, he thought it was great and he laughed all the way through it. But good Father Caro found him, exorcised the demons, and apparently now the man is living a non-violent life. That's just great. You can't really argue with results like that, can you? Excuse me while I continue to read the very next sentence in the article. He's heard the man secured an early prison release, but doesn't know his whereabouts. So I don't want to say that a sociopathic killer got caught and imprisoned and then just pretended to be possessed by demons in order to have a priest come and exorcise the demons so that he could then pretend to convert to Catholicism and be a good, godly man in order to look good for a parole board and secure an early release and then get out of jail and disappear. I would never suggest that. Mostly because I would like to visit Mexico one day and I would like to keep all my parts about me when I do. But I do wish that the journalist had thought to suggest it. Speaking of the Catholic Church's viewpoint running completely unopposed in a mainstream media article, the piece goes on to talk about the rising popularity of a figure called Santa Muerte or Saint Death or the Bony Lady or a number of other quite fun names. Santa Muerte is a folk saint not sanctioned by the Catholic Church, worshipped by millions of people throughout Mexico, but also in the United States, in Central America, and some in South America. And the Catholic Church hates her. They consider her satanic and her worship blasphemous. But that doesn't stop many people, including those who call themselves Catholics, from worshiping her. The article takes the Catholic Church's stance, which is that Santa Muerte is one of the main causes of all the violence happening in Mexico in the last decade, which I guess blaming a fake saint is somehow easier than blaming social inequality and government corruption and terrible policies on the part of two different countries. But all of the same, it doesn't quite work that way. Yes, cartel members have been caught worshiping Santa Muerte. Santa Muerte figures and candles have been found in cartel members' homes. Figures have been found at the scene of murders. And apparently cartel members sometimes pray to Santa Muerte for luck in particular illegal activities, things that they can't pray to a Catholic saint for because they'll get in trouble. Because that's the way religion works, apparently. But that doesn't mean that only cartel members worship Santa Muerte. And it doesn't mean that Santa Muerte is evil. In fact, Santa Muerte does all kinds of things, not just things related to death. Santa Muerte can help you find your lost keys. Or one of the big things that she's known for is actually love-related problems. So protecting marriages, stopping cheaters, or helping people be lucky in love, things like that. She's worshipped by people who are impoverished and marginalized. And according to R. Andrew Chestnut, who wrote one of the first English language explorations of Santa Muerte, particularly she's worshipped by people who have a fear of imminent death. So yes, that does include cartel members, but it also includes millions of people who feel like their lives have been endangered by cartel members. A Houston Press reporter interviewed a Santa Muerte priestess named Maria, who told them about how she used to fear death and even the dark. But eventually she got a vision from Santa Muerte, who helped her feel at ease with the idea of death and calmed her anxieties. Maria also says that she left the Catholic Church, in part because she found that it was a scandal-ridden, oppressive organization. For the record, Santa Muerte doesn't seem to take a stance on things like abortion or birth control or women remaining subservient to their partners. So it's little surprise that most of Santa Muerte's worshippers are women. Anyway, it's worth remembering when you read an article about an evil cult, that might just be the message that the Catholic Church hopes you're hearing. As for me, I remain much more frightened of a politician with a crucifix in his office than an impoverished Latina with a Santa Muerte candle in her home.